If you are a green card holder in the United States, or if someone you love is, then what we are about to discuss today could become one of the most important immigration developments of 2026. Right now, at the highest court in the country, the United States Supreme Court is considering a case that could dramatically reshape the way lawful permanent residents are treated when they return home after international travel. And I want to emphasize something from the very beginning. This is not just another political debate happening in Washington. This is not just a headline that will disappear in a few days. This is a real legal battle with real consequences for nearly 13 million green card holders currently living in the United States. Whether you travel abroad once a year, once a month, or have not left the country in years, the outcome of this case could change how immigration officers treat lawful permanent residents at airports, border crossings, and ports of entry across America. So stay with me until the end of this video because I am going to explain exactly what is happening, why immigration attorneys across the country are paying very close attention, what risks could emerge for lawful permanent residents, and most importantly, what steps you can take right now to protect yourself and your family. For many immigrants, receiving a green card is one of the proudest moments of their entire life. It represents stability, security, and the ability to finally build a future in the United States without the constant fear and uncertainty that often comes with temporary visas. A lawful permanent resident can legally live and work in the United States indefinitely. Green card holders buy homes, open businesses, raise children, attend universities, pay taxes, and contribute to American communities every single day. Many have lived in this country for decades. Some arrived as children and know no other home besides the United States. One of the most important rights associated with lawful permanent residency has always been the expectation that if you temporarily leave the country and then return, you are coming home. That simple expectation, the expectation of being treated as a returning resident rather than a stranger asking permission to enter, is now at the center of a major Supreme Court case that could redefine the relationship between green card holders and the federal government. The case currently before the Supreme Court is called Blanche versus Lawful. At the center of the dispute is a legal question that may sound technical at first, but has enormous real-world consequences. Can immigration officials place a returning green card holder into a form of immigration limbo called parole, rather than formally admitting them back into the United States, even if the government does not yet have clear and convincing evidence that the person committed a deportable offense? The answer to that question could determine whether lawful permanent residents returning from travel are protected by the stronger legal rights traditionally associated with admitted residents, or whether they can instead be pushed into a much harsher immigration process known as inadmissibility proceedings. To understand why this matters so much, we need to look at the story behind the case itself. Muk Choi Lau became a lawful permanent resident in 2007. Years later, he faced criminal allegations involving counterfeit goods in New Jersey. After briefly traveling abroad, he attempted to return to the United States. Under normal circumstances, a lawful permanent resident returning from a short trip abroad is admitted back into the country as a returning resident. But that did not happen in this case. Instead, immigration officials placed Lau into parole for deferred inspection, a legal category that allowed him to physically enter the country but without formally admitting him, and that distinction changed everything. Many people hear the word parole and immediately think about the criminal justice system, but immigration parole is very different. In immigration law, parole essentially places someone into a temporary legal gray zone. They are physically inside the United States, but legally they are treated as someone who has not officially been admitted. That difference matters because immigration law gives the government broader powers against individuals who are considered applicants for admission rather than admitted residents. If the government can classify a returning green card holder as someone seeking admission instead of someone returning home, it becomes easier to place that individual into removal proceedings under a much stricter legal framework. Immigration advocates argue that this creates an extremely dangerous precedent. They warn that if the Supreme Court sides with the government, future administrations could use parole authority far more aggressively against lawful permanent residents. Imagine traveling overseas for a family emergency, a funeral, or a business obligation, only to return to the United States and suddenly find yourself treated not as a resident returning home, but as someone trying to enter the country for the first time. Imagine being detained at the airport, questioned for hours, and placed into complex immigration proceedings because of an old arrest, a pending charge, or even an allegation that has never been proven in court. That is the fear many immigration attorneys and advocacy organizations are raising right now. The government, on the other hand, argues that border officers cannot reasonably be expected to conduct full legal trials at airports and border checkpoints. Federal attorneys told the Supreme Court that immigration officers should be allowed to parole returning residents while evidence is gathered and evaluated later before an immigration judge. The government's position is essentially that border officers need flexibility to respond quickly to possible legal violations without having to meet courtroom-level evidentiary standards at the moment of entry. And this is exactly where the Supreme Court must now draw the line. How much power should immigration officers have at the border when dealing with lawful permanent residents? And how much protection should green card holders receive when they return to the country they legally call home? What makes this issue especially important is the broader immigration environment in the United States right now. Immigration enforcement policies have become increasingly aggressive in recent years. Courts have issued major decisions affecting asylum seekers, temporary protected status holders, humanitarian parole programs, and deportation procedures. Immigration attorneys across the country are reporting heightened scrutiny of travelers, increased background checks, and greater attention to prior criminal histories and immigration records. For lawful permanent residents, that means even minor issues that may have seemed resolved years ago could suddenly receive renewed attention during international travel. And I want to pause here because this is where many people misunderstand immigration law. Some viewers may think, I have a green card so I am completely safe. But immigration law is far more complicated than many people realize. Certain criminal convictions, certain immigration violations, extended absences from the United States, and even some unresolved legal matters can create immigration consequences for green card holders. In some situations, lawful permanent residents can face removal proceedings. That does not mean every green card holder is at risk, but it does mean people should never assume they are automatically protected from scrutiny simply because they hold permanent resident status. If you are a green card holder watching this video today, one of the most important things you can do right now is educate yourself about your own legal history. If you have ever been arrested, charged with a crime, convicted of an offense, or involved in any legal proceeding, you should strongly consider speaking with an experienced immigration attorney before traveling internationally. And let me emphasize something very important here. Even if your criminal case was dismissed, expunged, or resolved years ago, immigration consequences can still exist. Criminal law and immigration law are not the same thing. A criminal defense attorney may tell you a case is resolved, but an immigration attorney may identify risks you did not even know existed. Another important step is making sure your documents are fully updated and organized. Your green card should be valid and unexpired. If your card is approaching expiration, begin the renewal process immediately. Keep copies of your tax returns, employment records, mortgage documents, lease agreements, utility bills, and anything else that demonstrates your strong ties to the United States. These documents help establish that America is truly your permanent home. If you travel frequently or spend extended periods abroad, consider speaking with an attorney about whether you need a re-entry permit to strengthen your case as a returning resident. And for those of you who have family members overseas, elderly parents, or work obligations that require international travel, I understand the anxiety this news may create. Nobody wants to feel uncertain about whether they can safely leave the country and return home. But this is exactly why staying informed matters so much right now. The Supreme Court has not issued its final ruling yet. Oral arguments took place in April 2026 and observers expect a decision later this summer. Until that ruling is issued, the legal framework remains unsettled. That means now is the time to prepare, not panic. I also want to address another important reality. The overwhelming majority of lawful permanent residents are hardworking, law-abiding individuals who contribute enormously to this country. They are nurses, engineers, teachers, truck drivers, construction workers, caregivers, entrepreneurs, and parents. They pay taxes, support local economies, and strengthen communities across America. The uncertainty many immigrants feel right now is not just about law, it is about belonging. It is about whether people who have built their lives here will continue to feel secure in the country they call home. And that is why staying informed is so important. Immigration law changes quickly. Court rulings, executive orders, agency guidance, and federal policies can dramatically alter the legal landscape in a matter of weeks or months. Information that was accurate a year ago may no longer apply today. That is why this channel exists, to help break down complicated immigration developments in a way that ordinary people can actually understand. As we move deeper into 2026, immigration will continue to be one of the most closely watched legal and political issues in America. The outcome of Blanche versus Lau may not only affect lawful permanent residents returning from travel, but could also influence future immigration enforcement strategies across the entire system. Millions of families are watching closely because the stakes are incredibly high. So here is my message to every lawful permanent resident watching today. Stay informed, Stay prepared, keep your records organized, seek professional legal advice if you have any concerns about your travel history, criminal record, or immigration status. Do not rely on rumors, social media speculation, or fear-driven misinformation. Get your information from trusted legal professionals and credible official sources. And above all, remember this: being proactive today can protect your future tomorrow. The information shared in this video reflects publicly available reporting and official legal developments as of May 2026. Immigration law can change rapidly, and every case is different. Nothing in this video should be considered individual legal advice. If you have concerns about your immigration status, travel plans, or legal history, consult a licensed immigration attorney who can evaluate your specific circumstances. If this video helped you understand what is happening and why it matters, please support the channel by liking this video and sharing it with other green card holders, family members, and immigrant communities who need accurate information right now. Millions of lawful permanent residents across America are trying to navigate uncertainty, and trustworthy information has never been more important than it is today.